Gus, what does Zaire mean to this defense, and how has he just taken some steps forward throughout these first 2 weeks of the season? I know he's kind of looked at as like the fill-in, but it looks like he's a starter in the NFL, leading the league in tackles.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job for us. He's got great leadership qualities, takes total command of the huddle. Our play calls, makes checks out in the field for us, and extremely intelligent. And with all that being said, he's playing really fast for us right now. So very excited about the way he keeps progressing. And, he's a great communicator out there. So I think guys rely on him for that as well.
One quick follow-up. Can you explain like the yin and yang between him and Shaq? Because they both lead, I guess, very well from what teammates say, but they describe it in different ways. Like obviously Shaq is ferocity and Zaire is more of, I guess, more calm, or how would you view it?
Well, yeah, Shaq is unique in his energy that he brings, his playmaking ability that he brings. Everybody around him is elevated. And Zaire, too, has a lot of those same qualities. They do go about it a little bit differently, but both extremely intense and focused on, what is asked of them. So, obviously great, both doing really well, and I think Shaq, we can get him back. When we get him back, we expect him to bring that same demeanor that he always has.
Stephen Holder.
Hey, Gus, I'm sure you wouldn't have put Rodney Thomas out there if you guys didn't think he could do the job. At the same time, when a late round pick comes in like that, playing maybe not in a power conference, I'm sure you have measured expectations. How did he go from whatever he was in your mind before to what he is now?
Well, his intelligence, I think he's a very detailed player, a very, very good communicator back there. And, when he's learning the position, he plays back there extremely focused. And I think that's what we ask him, that you can get bored back there at times. And, I think his intensity and his attention to the details has put him in position where he's had some opportunities to make plays. But I think the players are gradually learning how to trust him and trusting that he'll be at the right place at the right time. So we saw those qualities in practice. We didn't know that, how close he'd be ready to play. But sometimes with guys like that, until they get the opportunity, you don't know. So it's a cool story how he's taken his opportunity and made the most of it.
Mike Chappell.
Guess what, if anything, do you take away from the first game with Jacksonville? Wasn't exactly anyone's finest moment.
Right. It's I think they're a very good skill level. I was very impressed with their skill, very impressed with their backs, their offensive line. The quarterback does a good job. Completion percentage is very high, whether you pressure them or not. They take shots, but they're looking for high completion percentage too, and get it in their playmakers' hands. So sometimes it's a catch and run team. They get it in short distances. They, a very good combination of boot and play action max along with the screens. You could just tell that I think as the year goes on, they're getting better and better. And they're a different team now than when we faced them the first time, even though it's been a couple of weeks. There's some additional plays, run and pass. And it's been a very good complement to what they're doing.
Since that game, you've had a few rough patches. But overall, you've played winning football defensively. Anything change? Just players in the right spot at the right time, or what?
Well, I think that you try to get a feel for what your players do well, and sometimes that takes some time, and and then you kind of gear it towards your players' talent levels. And I think that we're getting a better feel. I think they're playing faster. I think I mentioned in training camp that sometimes it takes some time just to mature in the defense. And you're seeing signs of that. You're seeing signs of it becoming more consistent. So, we've added a few things here and there based on, how we feel like we're picking up some of the system. Our system isn't complete yet. There's things that we're adding, but it's really based on, how we're picking things up. But this group is an extremely intelligent group, and it's always a race to maturity. How fast can you mature within the system? But I think this team's background and the maturity level of it and intelligence has allowed us to, speed up that process quicker.
Thanks, Gus.
JJ?
Gus, kind of along those lines in speeding up that process, how much has the depth on the defensive line helped in just kind of setting a foundation for this defense?
Well, we would like to be 8 deep, right? Be able to rotate guys, keep guys fresh. And some of those younger guys have gone through some growing pains, but give credit to Nate Ollie and Matt Raish. I mean, they've done a good job sticking with them and knowing that the more they play, the better they'll get. And, that's what we're seeing. There's some good plays. A guy like Dio's made some really good plays for us. And I think the more that he plays, the more confidence he gets and will continue to add to our depth. And, but you got that strong leadership presence in Buck and Grover Stewart and Unique. And, I think those guys are following their lead.
George Bremer?
Coach, kind of building off of JJ's question there, with Quiddy's status kind of uncertain right now, how important is Dio, and do you see him ready to kind of take on a bigger role if need be?
Well, I mean, he's, depending on what takes place, we anticipate seeing more playing time from him. And, I think guys like himself and Taekwon has been really good for us. He's a guy that we trust at any position he plays. He's played nose, he's played 3, he's played left end, he's played right end, and he can play them, all with a high intensity level, and he plays fast. So he's a guy that I think, we've learned to really appreciate just because of his versatility.
We'll go a couple more here. Nate Atkins?
When you talk about intelligent players on defense, the guy that always comes up in the locker room is Stephon Gilmore. I'm sure you knew some of that coming in, but what have you kind of learned about him since you started working with him that kind of shows you the player he's become? Well,
I think, when the word trust, he can play multiple, he can play left, he can play right, he can play on the slot. He plays all around for us with matchups, and he doesn't blink. And I think as he gets a better feel, I've seen it like the last couple of weeks, a better feel in the system, where his help's coming from and when he's, really soloing on his own. So, he's that part, his maturity in that part has really been, quickly sped up just because of his experience. I mean, he's played every technique possible. So it's just a matter of getting reps and then trusting the teammates that are playing with him. So I can't say enough about Gilly, just his presence. He's made big plays for us. It's great to see. He's extremely competitive. He tackles. He's just a complete player, and, everything that you'd hope when we picked him up.
Mike Chappell?
Guys, speaking of presence, with what Buck did this last game, the last couple games he's had, the elbow, is that sort of the ultimate of what he can do as a defensive lineman interior, how disruptive he can be?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a painful injury that he has, so for him, to really, you go from 18 reps to where he played quite a few, and, just to see the production. And, he gives so much to our defense. It's great that, one of our principles is give with no intent to receive. It comes back twofold, and that's kind of a Buck mentality and his presence. I don't know if he thinks about it that way, but it's sure a great illustration to the rest of our team. And, he's all about the team, all about whatever he can do to help the team. And, he had a big game for us, but he's played really well for us throughout the year.
One quick follow-up. I know your defense, but from a quarterback standpoint, isn't pressure up the middle that Buck gives you really what disrupts the passing game?
Boy, if you can get that, Mike, I mean, that's a key. Pressure up the middle. Quarterbacks nowadays like to step up in the pocket and have clear vision, and just his presence, his size, his length, his ability to win one-on-ones. That's what we're trying to do now, is try to find more ways to get him one-on-one with some of the different fronts we're doing. And, because we feel like that he is that type of a matchup issue for some players.
Thanks, Gus.
We'll go last one here, JJ.
Yes, I'm curious on Stephon. Does the way that he can play in his technique at corner, does that allow you to do some things with your coverages that are maybe unpredictable week to week against certain opponents?
I think that we're probably doing more now than we have at this stage in our defense. I think if you looked around, you'd say, well, yeah, they play 3 deep, but I think really if you broke us down, we probably, we do play a lot of it and people are still attacking us that way. But I think we're much more multiple than what people think. And I think it's because of a guy like Gilmore and Kenny Moore, those guys and their ability to pick things up. We always tell our guys that we're never jeopardizing our ability to play fast. So as long as we're playing fast, I think it gives us more flexibility to try some different things.